DL5B, the statue and tulips. Again, this came from Adobe Classroom in a book tutorial, and this was used just to show rotating a picture and 1 or 2 color adjustments. I think we can learn a few more things from it. I think you can tell this image is crooked, and there are a couple of ways to straighten it. One is using the crop tool, and then if you hover in the corner, you get the rotation symbol, and you could try to line that up, see if that looks fairly straight, and then crop it. That's pretty good. I missed on that side a little bit. Crop a little more. Still a little white showing, probably because it's slightly crooked. I'm going to undo that and show you another way, which is using the ruler. There's the ruler. Any tools that you don't see are often down in this corner, and all the other tools are available. Command plus, zoom in a little bit, hold the space bar to get my hand and move down to here, and see how precisely I can do this with the ruler. If I click on the ruler right here, and then go down this way, right along the edge there, hopefully just a little bit inside the edge, because there's a little bit of fuzzy pixel going on right at the edge. And then under image rotation, say arbitrary, because arbitrary will take whatever you measured with the ruler and use that as an angle of rotation, and then you could crop it. And hopefully I'm getting just inside here. There's some white showing. Might as well show you canvas size. Canvas size is something about the file size, but it's not image size. The image size of this one is 2 by 3 roughly at 203 pixels per inch. The instructions say this should be exactly 200 pixels per inch and exactly 2 by 3 inches. I'm going to say OK for now, and I'm going to escape my cropping tools and try canvas size, image canvas size. And canvas size is the actual number of pixels, length and width, regardless of the viewing size or resolution. It can be in pixels, but it's actually cropping the image rather than scaling it, where image size would be for scaling it or changing resolution. This actually crops. So relative to the upper left corner, I could crop this to 2 inches exactly by 3 inches exactly. And that eliminates that white edge. At this point, I think I'm going to go back to this cropping, but what I want to do is on my history palette, notice that there's a camera on the bottom and take a snapshot of that. Because now, no matter what I do here, I can go back to this snapshot. It's a snapshot of where I was at that particular time in the history palette. I'm going to go back to the original snapshot, original. Okay, here's the original. And another way to crop this, Command Shift R gets me lens correction, which is a filter. Filter, lens correction, Shift Control R on the PC or Shift Command R on the Mac. And here, I'm going to make this not edge extension. I'll make this transparency, although it won't matter because we're actually going to be cropping it. Custom. There's no distortion because this isn't a photograph taken with a camera that I'm correcting. It's a file. It was a photograph with a camera at one point, but right now the thing is pretty much square. I can change the rotation angle right here. So if I knew exactly what I wanted, I could rotate that to fit kind of close there, and then highlight the number over here and use the arrows on my keyboard to change that rotation. I'm going to let this scale down a bit. This is going kind of slowly because it's going up in hundredths of a degree. If that grid isn't helping me, I can turn it off, or I can set the grid for a different size. And there at 27, it's very close to my edge. So again, rotating this by just selecting the angle in that dialog on the right side, and then use my up arrow until I get to where that looks perfectly straight. And then I could scale it up. Although when I get to a point where it doesn't quite fit, we'll say okay. And then once again, I can crop it here. That's not quite as good as my last crop, so I'm going to use my snapshot. All right, what else do we have here? Well, we have a picture that, I don't know about you, but I've seen enough pictures to know that this is not really good contrast, and the color is off. I see a very kind of a reddish cast to the whole thing. There are a number of ways of fixing white balance. Usually if you've got something white on there somewhere, that would help, but there's nothing white on here. What there is a plinth. The plinth is the thing the statue sits on, and the plinth is concrete, so it tends to be some sort of shade of gray. And particularly if you have an object that you know to be white or gray, and you can find the shadow side of it, like this part here is, oops, like eyedropper, this part here is in shadow, but you can see that's not really white. However, I can correct that with Command M curves, and then use the center eyedropper. If I had a white, I could sample a white. And if I had a black, I could sample a black, but to adjust the total range. But what I have to do here, I'm going to cancel that to reset it. Command M, what I'm going to do here is use the middle one, which is the gray value or the white balance, and then sample right there. And this gives me a neutral balance to my whole image. And if you try some different spots there, you might get some different results. This one here makes the stone look a little warmer. Changes the grass. I think the grass looks a little more on the red side. So I'm going to stick with this one over here, or perhaps around here, and call that a good white balance. Now, another thing I can do here is adjust the gamma, and I want to briefly explain gamma. I did a quick search and found a web page that demystifies gamma for you. Gamma encoding is a process of encoding the highlights, shadows, and midtones in an image in such a way so that it looks real to human eyes when viewed on a computer screen. And we also talked about gamma in conventional photography in terms of the highlights, midtones, and shadows of a photographic print. What the camera sees, recorded luminance value in an image versus the original scene luminance, is a curve like this. So what goes in isn't exactly what comes out. When it goes to the screen, this is the displayed luminance on the screen and the recorded luminance value of an image. And what your eye sees, if it's corrected, is the displayed luminance equals the original scene luminance. So that's what we talk about when we talk about gamma adjustment, is adjusting the highlight, midtone, and shadows of an image so that it looks natural to our eye. And you can look for this site and read more about it. Back to my image. So where can I adjust gamma in Command M curves? This white line here. If I pull the middle of this white line, I'm not changing the highlight or the shadow, but I'm opening up the midtones so that the gamma tonal values of the midtones look more normal to my eye. And I'm going to go over to get my history palette and take a snapshot of that. Because of course I'm going to undo that. Under image adjustment, you'll find curves, Control M. You'll find levels. Levels is another way of adjusting curves. I could take this center eyedropper here and get pretty much the same results. If I wanted to alter the contrast, I could move the sliders for the highlight and the shadow to get brighter highlights or denser shadows. Let's try an auto adjustment and see what it does. It auto adjusted the contrast, but it really didn't correct the color. Take the eyedropper here and get that color correction. I'm going to go back to this one again. And so that's Control L for levels, Control M for curves, which refers to the gamma curves, where you're talking about the input and output values of the image. And I can do an autocorrect on that one. That doesn't look right to me at all. It has an exaggerated correction of the contrast. Cancel that. Command M, use my eyedropper, and then grab the white line and just open it up a little. Not that much, about that much. And if I think the highlights need to go up more, then I can open that up. And if I think the shadow needs to be opened up more, then I pull on that in there. That's adjusting a curve. And I'm fairly satisfied with that. Okay, that was the easy part. What else can we do? Well, the Classroom book also shows a color replacement method that I never use, but I'll show it to you anyway. I'm going to make a selection of this tulip. Too much tulip there, minus on the quick select tool. And maybe I'll feather that, shift function key 6, 1 pixel. Under image adjustment, replace color. And so for this color, if I want to add to that, if I want to replace those colors in that area, I could shift the hue here. I could increase or decrease the saturation. And make it brighter or darker. And with the tulip, I'm not sure any of that is an improvement. Turn off the preview. That's not bad. So that's what they use this image for. If I want to change color on something, I generally do it as a non-destructive edit. Speaking of non-destructive edits, you can do non-destructive curves on the layer palette. Select an adjustment layer, curves, and then from here, I can open up that middle a little bit, take my eyedropper, my center eyedropper, the gray value or white balance, and select that. And that looks pretty good.